one thing we can do here is pull his arm through for that top side omoplata. Right? So from here to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start back stepping, and I'm going to put my hip directly on top of his biceps. Okay? From here, I'm going to back step my top leg so I can start exposing his arm here. I'm going to make a grip on his leg. I'm going to start to lift, and I'm going to curl my heel under his shoulder, just like the last class, so I'm starting to control the shoulder. Okay? Once I do that, I'm going to switch to his elbow. Okay? I'm going to make sure his wrist is tight to my pocket. Now, I want to start forming a good pin right away, so I'm going to post my hand to the floor. I'm going to start coming up to my feet, and I'm going to sit my hips directly on his chest with my legs curled. Okay? Especially if you're in the basics class, we talked about the basis of the omoplata here. Okay. It starts when we pull this wrist through. There needs to be a clamp on the shoulder here. Okay. Generally, we're doing pretty well with that. The next thing, once I start climbing up, is, guys, you can't let this wrist just go anywhere. It matters where it is. So some of you are bringing the wrist to this side. Okay. There are submissions from here, but move your forearm around. I have no clamp over his forearm. And this is the wrong position for an omoplata. Okay. If I want an omoplata, I need to have the arm right here. Okay. Now watch. Again, like as we've been talking about all week, as I'm coming up, if you start getting really good at omoplatas, you're going to understand when you're able to free up your hands and just hold the omoplata with your body instead of your hands. This is one of those examples. So as you're getting up here, you should be leaning into this hand. Look, my rib cage is pinching his forearm to my quad. Move your arm. Okay. If you guys are doing this, move your arm. Yeah. Okay. Not the end of the world. We'll talk about that in a second, but this is like optimal position here. Okay. We got here. Okay. Guys, make sure when you're coming up, your hips don't move away from the shoulder. We want our hips as close to the shoulder as possible here. Okay. So this translates more into an actual shoulder lock, which is what we're going to do now. So we're going to hit what we call a monoplata. So from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pummel my top foot over his head. I'm going to keep my legs somewhat straight, and I'm just placing my shoulder on, or my knee on his shoulder. Okay. This leg is also important. This is going to engage the submission. I want to stretch this leg, and off of my pinky toe here, look at my knee. It's making an inwards rotation. Okay. Now, to start to put the torque on the arm here, I need a rotation here. Think of a kimura, his wrist needs to be pushed, right? That's going to be pushed by my hip. So again, I'm leaning my rib cage on his forearm, keeping it tight to my quad. And now to finish, I'm engaging my hips forwards. And I'm rotating something pushing the wrist, right? This one's kind of weird because instead of hands or legs pushing the wrist, it's your hip. Okay. Okay. Little motion with my foot, downward pinch with the knee. I stretch this leg, okay? If you feel like you're not getting enough range of motion, you can stretch this leg a little more too, okay? Now from here, my hips go forwards, and now they start coming around as I turn this knee in. Does that make sense? This is a good one to switch to if the arm is getting straight. Or, again, even if it's not straight, maybe you didn't get a good enough pin here on the arm, okay? You're just twisting, 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 but you're not getting the tap, okay? So, the cool thing about this, it's not like just switching for the sake of switching. It's very high percentage because it follows the range of motion that you're already doing for the monoplata. Okay? So from here, as I start to walk through, either I'm not tapping him, or even better, let's look at if his arm goes straight. Look at what happens when he straightens his arm. Look at where his wrist catches. It goes right to my armpit. Okay? So this like really sets the lat style armbar. So from here, I am going to just keep rotating. I am going to get off of him this time too. As I do, my heel switching is the pin. So whenever Ulysses sits up here, I just turn this knee inwards. Okay. Now I'm going to stop here to go over the main mechanics because like this one gets tight really fast. You really got to practice this slow. So the first things first, just like any other armbar, when we control the thumb or the wrist, he has the ability to rotate his thumb. Okay. That can obstruct the finish, right? So guys, again, this is a little awkward, like the Kimura grip analogy, right? I'm not controlling his thumb and his wrist. It's by pummeling the elbow, and it's by pummeling the elbow in. You guys see that motion? You can do that one-handed or both hands. It doesn't matter. So that starts to run tension through the arm. So does the armpit. Look, it's like a heel hook. But I never go past the thumb. I never go past this part of the wrist. So 1, 2. Now the final key here, and this is where it's going to get really tight, be careful, is my left knee. Okay? I'm going to start to draw this knee towards my chest. Look, that's lifting a shoulder off the ground. Now from here, I'm just going to pinch, and I'm going to touch my shoulder blades together. 10. From here, I'm going to still use my hand on the floor to guide my hip to the mat. As I do this, my right heel is going to go tight to his shoulder, and as I land, I'm going to bring both hands to the elbow and internally rotate. You guys see my elbow? This is like a heel hook. It's drawing back to that wrist. It's really locking the elbow out now, okay? Now the biggest detail here, this is where you got to be careful. Drawing this left knee in. You guys see that's lifting his shoulder off the mat? I didn't even like do the finish. That's enough. Like it structurally locks out everything here. I'm gonna go looser on Conrad, okay? If he wouldn't have tapped there, I'm just pinching, and again, bringing my lats together. Dale will tell you that once I get about here, there's tension running through the arm. But this is a very fine line. If I go past this point, look, okay. So let's say just for fun, like I try to finish on about his fingers here. Can you pull your hand through? Yeah. Now let's look at the base of the wrist by the thumb. Can you pull your hand through? See, just that little inch. You need to stop right where the hand starts, okay? Now if you make that mistake, it's not the end of the world, okay? You can still bring this hand through, but you need to revert back to your armbar basics. If this happens, he can sit up pretty easy, so right away, you need to make a cross face leg. Let's say even though you have a good cross face here, maybe it's an absolute division, he splits his legs and he gets to the top like any other armbar. Look, you have an arm and a head and your legs here. Okay? So come all the way up. This is a good spot. Sorry, attacking triangles too. You guys are going to back step here right away. You're excited to get the submission, but again, you're leaving too much space. He's controlling your leg here. Okay? Guys, I want to track this wrist and pull it through. Okay? Now, I do want to extend my leg and try to pull, but I also don't want to push his arm away from me. Okay? So it's really important that when he grabs my leg, he's attached to it, right? I'm going to bring my knee to my chest, so it brings the hand closer. Now I'm going to pull his arm through. Okay? So, a couple things to think about here. You can reach as deep as the elbow. That will give you a lat style grip, but there's a trade-off here. Okay? You can reach as high as the sleeve or the wrist. Okay? It's also going to pull the arm through. Okay? Now, as soon as I pull the arm through, you guys see what I do? I don't leave this leg wide. He's going to bring his elbow back to the ground. And like, that's not bad. Again, the Monoplata is right here. Okay? But I want to trap this for what we call an S Mount style armbar. So I'm going to pinch this knee in right away. Can I see that? Okay. So, trade-offs here. If I have a lat grip on him, it's going to be a little bit harder if you're not as flexible to pass this leg over. Okay, you're kind of in your own way. So a lot of times I'm going to really encourage you, actually most of the time, to pass this wrist to the chest. Grabbing his thumb, hooking and grabbing your collar, however you like to control here. Now, back to that hand again. I need to lean so it's easy to pass my knee and pummel the foot over, sorry. Yeah, I see that a lot. You guys shouldn't be leaning this way, you should be leaning this way. How about now? Nope. Yeah. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
Cool. Let's go. It's really going to teach you to use that hand as a form of base more. So we're here, but as I backstep, he gets good leverage to separate my leg. Okay. Remember, you can grab it here and kick through, but it's kind of far away. And as you kick, you might actually push his arm away. So as you go to grab the wrist, draw this knee in, and then kick away. Okay? A lot of people have been struggling with that this week. Then once I get here, I don't want his shoulders to open. It's like a triangle. I want his shoulders to pinch. Okay? Bring this to the middle of the chest. Thumb, wrist. Okay? If you can't get this leg over, it's like the high step pass. You need to lean more, like you're gonna fall over. Pass it, pinch, and then a small engagement of the hips. It's gonna be something like double underhooks, walking your knees up and then controlling both arms. And then there are ways here to start passing elbows and shoulders, okay? So a normal S Mount Armbar, you will generally be like this, but there's a big unique factor in terms of the way we're entering right now, and that is with the Monoplata, with the Omoplata, right? So look, the whole time I'm doing this, I'm still leaning here. Even when I go to back step, look, I'm not changing my position. Still have this, okay? Now, what does that do for me? It makes it easier to pass this over. You can't use this hand, okay? Also, too, though, if I make that mistake of leaning too far forwards and he slips his elbow out, look at what I still have. Go back here if I need to, okay? Keeping that arm just has so many benefits, right? Again, you guys, there's a lot of like material this week, but it really is just building upon itself. And if you keep a lot of these same details in order, like you can just chase people in this position. And like you can take steps forwards, you can take steps backwards. Like there's a lot of great stuff you can do here. Like anything else, it just has to build up strong, like good detail. So some of you were electing to do this and then switch here or falling back. Hey, this is perfectly fine. If this is your game, like definitely a good option here. Okay. Triangles all day. We are going to take a look at the Omoplata now from a different scenario though, but that would be another example here. Like, okay, there's the mounted triangle, and if I keep coming over, okay, you'll see Hoppa Mendes do that a lot, all the way to the Omoplata. And then furthermore, if everything goes wrong, so a lot of you do this, especially like if you get into that situation where he's holding onto the leg, and like maybe it's too low and you can't grab it. Some of you are coming here and just taking him out. Fine, okay? You'll still score your 4 points. Do you have a question? Oh. No. No problem. Now in terms of starting here in transitions, okay? And again, this might be next week. If we look at any situation where maybe we're not here, we're not on yet, let's say he gets an underhook, for example, and I start losing his elbow. Guys, this is what I mean by when I say it's reasonable to transfer to the other side on this one, okay? So this would be a transition into a mounted Monoplata. Just now we're on the opposite side, okay? So this is a huge game we can play. Again, you heard me throw out his name, Josh Inger. He was like a Monoplata guillotine guy. So a lot of times, like, he'd have people on like top side arm in guillotines, and when that person punches that underhook high and he's losing it, a lot of times, like, those are the types of transitions you see those people prefer. Okay. So this is a pretty cool submission game. All right, let's talk about this now. Let's spend a little bit of time here. There's going to be a point, and this is what we did last week, where we're not sitting on the person yet. We're right here, okay? Again, we don't want to be too tall and end up in reverse close guard. We talked about that. So we're starting low. Okay. Nice one, Slick. So let's talk about something that might happen here. He might sit up. And when he sits up hard, a lot of times it's going to be hard to force him back down. So this is a really smart place to go for an Omoplata. Now guys, don't forwards roll. If you forwards roll, he's going to go with you and potentially roll or face you, stuff like that. We want to do a sideways roll, okay? So what's a sideways roll? I'm going to roll this way, okay? So he can't chase me. And I'm trying to chase his hips. When I want to go for an Omoplata submission, I want the hips, all right? So I go this way, and as I roll through, I'm going to find his hip, okay? Now from here, the finish we're going to prefer is what we call a crucifix Omoplata, all right? So I have the hip. I'm going to make sure I have that good attachment to the wrist and the elbow, and I'm going to start making a climb here. So, now, to finish, once I have the leg side hand, my left hand on the shoulder, I'm going to hook his elbow. Sorry. I'm going to go looser. Yeah. It's this shoulder or the other one? Well, okay. This one. All right, I'm loosening it. Is this okay? Yeah. Sorry. I want to get here, so they can't bridge on me. Now the finish is here. Yeah. Okay. My bad. Sorry. So when I scoot out, that's what's making the Kimura again. Okay. How are your shoulders okay? Okay. So this is going to happen a lot when we don't have a pin on the chest yet. They can turn into you, they can sit up, so on and so forth. Okay, so when he does, I'm going to roll in this direction, okay? Not this direction. I'm trying to get that latch to the shoulder. You guys see this looks like crucifix, hence the name crucifix omoplata. Okay. So from here, I'll keep this. If you guys are having trouble getting the elbow in, you can start this motion early. So it's easy to make that 90-degree angle with your elbow. Okay. You okay, buddy?
I'm good.
Okay. Right foot on the floor, hips up. Hips up. Okay. And if he's flexible, I'll just keep going. If I roll forwards, again, there's a big probability he could turn the corner, or I'll just end up in a regular omoplata, which here, and also find ways here if he turns into, once again, going to triangles. Okay. This is very logical for working both sides. So if we're over here, we don't have pressure on him yet, he's turning into me, he's getting things like underhooks. This will lead to what we call a mounted monoplata. A lot of you ended up here, okay? And then here, if we continue this, it's almost like a drill or range of motion wise. Look, now I'm in the same position on the other arm. This is an example of a reasonable way to do a move on both.